In our politics lead, quite a bit has happened since House Speaker Mike Johnson took this selfie with Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene 5 months ago. Their collegial relationship has turned into a full-blown feud after Greene filed a motion to oust him from the speakership last month. On Sunday, Speaker Johnson called that move a distraction.
Again, the mission is to save the republic. And the only way we can do that is if we grow the House majority, win the Senate, and win the White House. So we don't need any dissension right now.
However, dissension, especially Republican dissension, will be on the agenda next week when Speaker Johnson says he plans to bring a vote on aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan to the floor of the House. It's a move Marjorie Taylor Greene says should cost Speaker Johnson his job. CNN's Manu Raju is live on Capitol Hill. And Manu, you just spoke with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. What did she have to say?
Yeah, she bluntly warned the speaker not to move ahead with any Ukraine aid package, even as the speaker is planning to change the Senate's bill, tried to woo Republicans, include some new border security measures. She said that absolutely should not go forward. She is a staunch opponent of more aid to Ukraine as Republicans are badly divided over this issue. She told me, she said, I think that, let me tell you, when he forces that vote, again, under suspension with no amendments and funds Ukraine, and people find out how angry their constituents are about it, that's going to move the needle even more. But I'm going to tell you right now, funding Ukraine is probably one of the most egregious things that he can do. Now, she would not go as far as saying it was a red line, but she went right up to that line. And remember, any one member can call for a vote seeking the ouster of a sitting speaker. The question, would Democrats come to Johnson's defense if he does move forward with aid to Ukraine? That is still uncertain because it's unclear the form this Ukraine aid package will take at this key moment. Now, there are also concerns, Jake, that if there is a push to oust Mike Johnson, who would only be the second person ousted ever as Speaker of the House through a vote on the floor, that Democrats could work with moderate Republicans and move forward a more moderate Speaker. Greene pushed back against that contention. She said, I don't think we can get any more moderate than Mike Johnson. She said there's not even any daylight between him and Nancy Pelosi at this point. He's literally turned into Mitch McConnell's twin and worse. And she went on to continue to rail against Mike Johnson's deal making. Of course, he had to cut a deal to keep the government open with Democrats. She did not like the way that was handled, that was unveiled at the last minute as they pushed that through to avoid a government shutdown. But Mike Johnson facing the perils of governing this narrowly and bitterly divided Republican House conference. The question is, when will Marjorie Taylor Greene move forward? She would not reveal her plans on her timing just yet. Jake.
All right, Manu Raju, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Let's discuss this with I mean, first of all, just fact check. Speaker Johnson is very conservative. He's nothing like Nancy Pelosi. You can't even understand it, and yet she's a force in the Republican Party. So listen to what she said to Steve Bannon yesterday on his podcast.
Everywhere I go in my district, everyone is so angry at Mike Johnson. And one guy said it to me like this. He goes, do they have Mike Johnson's wife tied up somewhere and have a gun to her head? What is wrong with Mike Johnson? So for Mike Johnson to actually think that his Republican conference supports sending $60 billion to Ukraine, he is a damn fool, Steve. And he's a liar.
Hold on, hang on.
All right. Now, normally I'm reluctant to give a microphone to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she speaks for a big part of the Republican Party, a part that has really had an impact on Congress.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I work for Tim Scott, and that was, Tim Scott approves broadly, of degrading the Russian military through aid to Ukraine. And when we would go to Iowa, that was something that, we'd have to deal with a little bit. But look, I think a couple keys here. A, when this actually comes to the floor or around that time, does Trump weigh in? We already saw what he can do around some of the border bill at the end of last year. What does he say on this? Number one. Number two, it's a little bit different than 6 months ago, I think, also because there's less of an incentive for Democrats to let this thing go totally off the rails and bring the House to a standstill like we saw. It was frozen for 3 weeks when they didn't have a speaker. Number three, I think more than anything else, they'll get by this. It'll be a speed bump with Ukraine. But what does this happen in, say, November? if Trump gets elected, will he want to install a speaker that's more ideologically predisposed to him? Does he want to keep Mike Johnson? Or if he loses, is there a free-for-all? Watch more so after the election what this does to Mike Johnson than anything else.
I mean, just again, Speaker Johnson is all in on Donald Trump. He's just also trying to govern Republican.
And he's governing with what is getting to be a smaller and smaller group of Republicans, right?
Because the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world keep chasing them out.
Yes, and that is it's Mike Gallagher, congressman who's very deeply respected in bipartisan fashion, expert in foreign policy, effectively leaving Congress this month, but just at the right time to make sure that his seat cannot be replaced.
Yeah.
So Johnson has an even slimmer majority to make things happen.
And we should note that Congressman Don Bacon, who I don't know that I would call him a moderate, but he is certainly sane. He's from a swing district in Nebraska, framed the situation for Speaker Johnson like this, quote, "He's got a gun to his head right now, but we need to have a Churchill, not a Chamberlain right now. He could be on the right side of history." I'm not sure that Marjorie Taylor Greene knows who Churchill or Chamberlain are, but that's a World War II allusion to standing up to Putin, in this case, and Hitler back then.
And I do think that is really weighing in on his mind. You've seen pretty strong words, especially when foreign leaders have visited the White House. They have a specific message for Speaker Johnson. I remember one of the Polish leaders who visited with Biden last month saying the world is basically hinging on your shoulders. The fate of Ukraine is on the shoulders of Speaker Johnson. You saw him have a conversation with President Zelensky in the last couple of days. It's a matter of how he does this and how he sort of is able to finesse getting a foreign aid package through this Congress with this House Republican Conference. I was really fascinated with the reminder that when Speaker McCarthy put through Ukraine assistance and sort of a test vote, if you will, it only got 100 or so House Republicans. So if you figure that's kind of the ceiling that Mike Johnson is working with, that's why the threats from the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world is really potent for someone like Speaker Johnson.
So Senator McConnell, the Republican leader, is stepping down from his leadership role next year, although he will serve out his full term. On Monday, he laid out his priorities in a local radio interview. Take a listen.
And I'm particularly involved in actually fighting back against the isolationist movement in my own party and so many others as well. And the symbol of that lately is, are we going to help Ukraine or not? And I think it's extremely important that we do that. So I've got this sort of on my mind for the next couple of years is something I'm going to focus on.
But you heard Marjorie Taylor Greene insult Speaker Johnson by comparing him to McConnell and Nancy Pelosi.
Times have changed. Yeah, everybody has a gun to their head. It's like the end of Reservoir Dogs, I guess.
Yeah.
But what I'll notice this is, I think in the Trump era, it didn't so much change things dramatically as it accelerated things that were already happening. I think we saw the isolationist versus the more neoconservative wing has really been bubbling for the last 20 years. Ever since Iraq really ended, we saw it bubble up with Rand Paul in Syria in 2013. But I think this is the first time where there's been extended, long debate on this. And I would actually even say the isolationist kind of, or we can call it that, overtook where a lot of the rest of the party is in a real way.
It is part of the pendulum swing that has happened in American history, right? 1930s, fascism rising on the world stage. We unfortunately do see that Donald Trump and folks that he has put out on the campaign trail talking about foreign policy, going overseas, are aligning themselves with the authoritarians of the world. So this is not a battle just for America's democracy when it comes to how much money you send overseas. This is truly about the American experiment and what that means to people around the world.
And speaking of Donald Trump, last night, I guess in a reference to President Biden declaring Transgender Day of Visibility, which happens on March 31st every year. This year coincided with Easter Sunday. A lot of people were upset about it. Trump added his take on this. Take a listen.
November 5th is going to be called something else. You know, it's going to be called Christian Visibility Day, when Christians turn out in numbers that nobody has ever seen before. Let's call it Christian Visibility Day.
Really leaning into this Christian nationalist thing.
Right. And that's going to be, I mean, setting aside sort of the fact checking about when the Transgender Day of Visibility falls. It just happened to fall on Easter of this year. But yes, this is Donald Trump really leading into the religious issues, culture issues, really trying to rile up that base of voters who are really excited to vote for him come November.